I don't want to talk for 4 hours. I want to make sure we have the chance to write, think, dream, do, and be. We had a range of emotions, from lots of laughter and smiles to even tears being shed while people were dreaming big, and a lot of hugs afterwards. So we talk about soul. To me, it's the soul can never be fed enough. Why? Because when you're serving people in your communities and your gyms, it's sometimes a lonely and empty, you can get emptied real fast. And if you don't retool and refuel, you could burn out very fast. And in this industry, you could burn out really quick.
Oh yeah.
You got to have conversations, and you never know what people are going through. Like, remember until that lady said, hey, I have this person, they're living, their life isn't great, and they work for me, and I'm trying to help them and get them an air conditioner. Yeah, or something. And it's just, if you're just looking at them as somebody that comes in and works, and you don't know any of the backstory, and you're not connected in any way because you're not listening, well, wait, how are you going to retain them, or how are you going to inspire them?
Welcome to the Fitness CEO Podcast, a show dedicated to helping fitness entrepreneurs launch and grow successful gyms. Here's your host, Bryce Henson.
Hey, my friend, welcome back to another amazing episode of the Fitness CEO Podcast. And before I introduce today's guests, I want to give you a friendly reminder to give us a like, give us a subscribe on YouTube, write us an amazing review on iTunes. That way we can keep producing this content for you for free. So now to introduce today's guests, who have had them on the show previously, but back for round 2, and we have them in the same place at the same time. And we shot this podcast at our elite mastermind training in Orlando, Florida. Both of these legends, these titan of industries, were keynoting, and thought it was an incredible opportunity to take a long extended lunch, bring them in studio, shoot an incredible podcast. That's when it's going to add more value to you. Do you learn how to build a better culture, how to create more longevity in our industry. And you're going to learn from these two titans of industries who are best-selling authors. They've been in the industry for going on 3 decades. They've been in all the stages, all the shows you can possibly think of, and they are here in studio to basically provide you a lot of value from a cultural perspective, from a longevity perspective, and from a profitability perspective to keep you in the fitness game for years ahead. Todd Durkin and Martin Rooney, welcome to the show.
Hey, welcome back, friends, to another amazing episode of the Fitness CEO Podcast. And we are live from Orlando, Florida at our Fit Body Elite Mastermind with these two legends, titans of industries, dear friends of mine.
Three.
There we go. I'll take that. Yeah, we're here at our Fit Body Mastermind and just pouring into our owners over the next 2 days. And Todd, you just delivered a half day, which is absolutely incredible. And Martin, you are teed up for tomorrow. So the theme of the conference that we're pouring into our owners is about, team retention, about pouring your team, developing your team leadership. And that way, our owners can lead and grow a profitable fitness business and impact more lives, which is the name of the game. So I want to talk a little bit about the takeaways that you present on today, TD, and then you're going to touch on tomorrow, Martin. Before I do, I want to kind of go back, being that you guys have been in this game for 2 decades. As we were talking off camera, something's in the water in New Jersey.
Yeah.
The fact that these guys right here graduated the same year, come from the same state, have very similar paths from coaching, from football, that has led us to, shooting this podcast at the end of 2022 as we look into 2023. A lot of similarities here. So TD, I'm going to look at you first. What's in the water in Jersey? How does this all happen?
Oh, man. I don't know what's in the water up in North Jersey, but down in Brick, up in Brick, where I grew up, Brick, New Jersey, I finished there in '89. Interesting that the late '90s, early 2000s, when I met Martin, who was up in when I met him was in Mahwah, right, with the Prezi Speed School at the time, and we're just kind of kindred spirits. And our backgrounds are similar in the sense of both passionate to help people and train people. And early on in my career, when I was just starting to work with all clients, I worked with anybody. If you had a pulse, I wanted to work with you. But it was really 2002 and 3 when I started working with more athletes. And I remember Bill Parisi and Martin were 2 people that I was hanging with, learning from, and doing some of the same stuff that Martin was doing up in North Jersey. But it's interesting how we both come from similar backgrounds. And I think that's why we're still almost 25 years later, still hanging out and become great friends in so many ways. And our families are connected. And my son goes to school down where Martin lives now in North Carolina. So just it's an honor to be here with him at the Fit Body Bootcamp Mastermind and to have him presenting tomorrow and me today. It's actually been a legendary 2 days already.
Heck yeah. So we're going to dive into some of that content in a second. Mark, what's your take on it, man?
Well, I would say, I'll give an explanation that I think might make sense. But hey, in the state of New Jersey, it's packed. It's one of the densest, most overpopulated states. I think that it's the fourth smallest state, but the most cars of any state in the country. So there's just something that I would almost call it like it's a rat race, or there's a natural competitiveness that goes along with it. Yeah, you grow up hustling, and hey, he's saying North Jersey, but I spent most of my mom's from Toms River, which you know that, and which is right across right from him. That's my parents met at Seaside, so I'd spend my summers there. So maybe there was something in the water where we were at there, but definitely I think there's something about that. Man, if you don't get it done today, you lose, versus a lot of other places I've lived. Hey, if you don't do it today, do it tomorrow. So I think there's an energy that goes with it, but there's just a natural competitiveness and similarities that Todd and I have. And maybe it's something from that generation too, of coming up in the 80s. And, maybe it was watching Rocky and, Rocky movies and Schwarzenegger movies that did it. But definitely, hey, he and I have had not only such similar paths, but have had the chance to connect at so many events over the years, to now even our children connecting at stuff, to where I was at his son's football game with my kids a few weeks ago. So it's, and it's unique that now, boom, we're right here again. But ultimately, I think, if I were to say anything, the biggest stuff has always been service, and how we have had or tried to always over deliver for everybody we worked with. And I think that's probably been our secret to our longevity, and what puts us here today too.
And I would say with that, what Martin says is fitness and sports performance has kind of been the career that's kind of kept us together. But in the last several years, it's been about life. Yeah. Right. As our families have grown and life has grown, and we stuck together really close through the pandemic and shared our challenges and struggles. And I think, like many people listening in right now, you had those people who helped you get through a very tough time. And for me, Martin was one of those dudes that I was like, Martin, dude, I need some help, brother.
And then I would go right back. Like, what do we do? Because we're putting this face on for everybody else. Yeah. And hey, everything that we had also built was super challenged with everything we were doing. Hey, there wasn't more speaking. There wasn't, hey, what's happening with the businesses, fitnesses? Is
brick and mortar going to be back? All these things, these real challenges, right? And that's why it's cool that 2023 here is kicking off as we listen, as our listeners listen in. It's a new era. It's a new leadership time.
A rebuild of this industry.
A reinvention.
Too.
So speaking of this, and before we kind of talk a little bit about the content that you're going to be teaching and will be teaching, when I look at both of you, and by the way, I'm just so grateful to have learned from both of you over the years, and now to become friends with you, and the impact that you've had on my life. And now through my organization, through Fit Body Bootcamp, you have directly impacted me, and then impacted tens of thousands of lives through my ability to serve my leadership team and my global team. When I look at both of you, the two words that come to mind, and TD, you hit this actually, is passion and soul. And I feel like in order to be super successful at life, in whatever endeavor it is, you got to put soul into that. TD, I would love your take on that, and then I flip it over to Martin.
Yeah, no, that's what drives me. I mean, soul is what I just felt in that room. Just for the last 4 hours, the soul. I saw emotion. I've talked about emotion invokes motion, but soul is what the last 2.5 years, 3 years, people had dried up, passion and purpose. People are lost, empty, burnt out. People were just absolutely looking for something deeper. You talk about soul, thank God that soul is back and energy's back and passion's coming back. And that epitomized what just happened in that room. I know this afternoon and tomorrow as Martin goes on, one thing I think people are gonna say when they leave is, my soul has been fed. My soul's been fed. That's going to go light other people up in their respective brick and mortar businesses at Fit Body Bootcamp, is the soul has been fed. So passion and soul, I couldn't agree more on that, Bryce, because that's what makes me tick is soul.
Feel it, man. Can't fake that. What about you, Rooney?
Well, what I would almost use the word passion and interchange it with enthusiasm, right? And that's what I'll be talking about a good bit tomorrow is, the word, when you break it down, enthuse, the first part of it means to be filled with spirit, right? Or you could also say, short version, hey, I'm on fire about something. And tomorrow I'm going to remind everybody, hey, you can't get everybody else on fire. You can't get your team on fire. Your team can't get your people on fire if you're not on fire first. And it's kind of a trickle down, right? So I think our secret has been we're a 10 out of 10 on fire, well then, hey, everybody you touch has the opportunity to get up there too. But man, I'm gonna remind everybody tomorrow, if they're a 2, you can't make somebody else a 10, and then you don't get to complain about it. So, but I've been taking the concept deeper of it's not just enthusiasm that it's rah-rah or you're excited about one thing. Now I'm starting to understand more about how do you direct that enthusiasm to what people need it, but then who needs it the most. And oftentimes when we focus our enthusiasm, say in particular in the gyms, it might be the person that's doing great or the person that's the lowest body fat or the one that lifts the most weights. Oh, look at them and let's take pictures of them. But there's that person in the corner that no one's talking to that needs that enthusiasm 10 times as much. And it doesn't mean you don't give it out to the other person too, but holy cow, even if you have it, are you directing it the right way? And we're going to really talk about that tomorrow also.
And the thing I think is important, what Martin's saying, is sustainable. How do you make energy and enthusiasm sustainable? It's easy to go on, be rah-rah for a day or a week or a month or a year, but how do you keep that for the next 2 to 3 years, the next 5 years, the next 20 years? It's how do you create sustainable energy? And I think that's real. We talk about enthuse and inspiration. It's truly being on fire for a deeper purpose and calling as well.
And I think that's your zone of genius, being the longevity, how you've served this industry. And I think that's a testament to your servitude, that longevity play. So diving in, talking some tangible tactics, if you will, and the theme of this particular conference is team retention, right? Because we all know the value of being a relationship business, and we need to pour into our clients because ultimately that's really the name of the game. But really, if you want to retain your clients, you need to be able to retain your team. You need to be a strong leader. You need to pour in your team. So Martin, you first, what are some strategies, some tactics that you've used and you'll be teaching on over the next day or so, that way our audience, but also to our live audience, will take away and learn how to execute that, so that way they can keep team retention in mind.
Yeah, well, it's funny, as we were building this, because this was the topic we were given, it's a different event for us instead of, hey, just go and you present a topic that you're interested in, where this was a real guide of, what does it mean to us, right? And so what I think is going to be unique is tomorrow is going to be stuff I've never presented before or never presented it before, all in order the way that we're going to do it, right? This topic. And as I was thinking about it, the easiest thing or the lowest hanging fruit, you might say, oh, it's team retention. So I got to communicate with these guys or evaluate these guys and see where they're at and find what's important to them. And, a lot of the things we heard today, but it's almost, I'm going to force everybody to take some steps backwards a little too of, well, wait a minute, what if you hired the wrong person, right? So what is your hiring process? Then what is the training process of those people? So if you have somebody that isn't doing a great job, as a great leader or owner, you got to point the finger back and say, number one, is this the right person? Number two, did I train this person for what I am expecting of them that they're not now producing? And then moving on from there, am I recognizing them, appreciating them? The things that I think people will think team retention is, but there are 2 big steps before that. And that's either the attracting of them that we talked about, then the hiring of them, and then the training process too. So I'm gonna go over that, but with my unique style tomorrow is everybody is going to continue to rate themselves. So all the owners are going to rate themselves, whether it's 0 to 10, 0 to 5, so that we can identify their biggest areas of weakness and the biggest things that they need. And then we're going to force them to write down the takeaways of, well, then what are you going to do about it? So for everybody listening to this, hey guys, information is great, but it's kind of even if it's today from Todd's talk, and there was more than one or more than 50, if they do one thing different, it was worth it for them to come today. And then if there's one thing they get tomorrow that it's worth it, man, if you did that every day, there were 365 things that you were doing at the end of a year, you'd be a new person. So I'm gonna be attacking that. I'm also I put together, Todd's gonna have to see this thing eventually, is, because you were talking about high performing teams. Yep. I broke down, it's pretty interesting, and we didn't even talk about it. I broke down the 10 characteristics of high performing teams, and we're gonna have them all rate themselves on that too. So there's that. Then of course, I'm going to be speaking about culture, where they're going to be hanging out. So they're all getting the high 10 book, which I think is a blueprint that they'll get so much from that too if they really go through it. And hey, maybe we'll do a book club thing after they all read it, and we'll let's get on a Zoom call and go over it, right, to see what everybody thought about it. And then also that final part is I put in a big part about that enthusiasm piece that I talked about, where it'll go back to them of, hey, where is theirs at? Are they using it wisely, so that, you know, we don't just point the fingers at the team the whole time too.
Well, I want to circle back on high 10. I'll kind of put that in the second table up for a second. TD, if you could just decompress and be able to provide some nuggets to our audience listening to the podcast of the 4 hours that you just brought fire and soul into our team. I know that's a tall order, but you know, what would you say your biggest takeaways and learning lessons would have been?
Well, first off, I'm fired up for his talk. I'm like, dang, I want to be in that talk. This is great. This is great content that the mastermind is receiving. So kudos and gleaning that information. I can't wait for them to get Martin's mind tomorrow. Top takeaways for me from today. Number one, I loved to see the emotion in that room. There was so much emotion. I had them I wasn't just lecturing, we were actually writing on what it takes to be your legendary self as a leader, as a coach, as a mother or father, or as a husband or wife. How do you be a better person so you can show up for your team as the man or woman that you want to be? And to me, that's everything, is how do we step into our legendary self? And that's something that I'm working on, is like, how do I step into a better version of me in this new season that we're in here in 2023? How do we step into that? How do we dream to have the vision to really be that man or woman that we desire to be? And what I saw was emotion that was bottled up, letting go of the past, the last 2.5 years or whatever's holding people back. And we got that out. We wrote a legendary letter to ourselves of that legendary self. We had a visualization. I'm a big believer in visualization, meditation, prayer. And I led a visualization today. I talked about how you got to play the game 1,000 times before you play the game, but where you had to visualize yourself in 20 years from where you are today. So if you're 30 years old, imagine yourself in 50. Or if you're 51, imagine yourself at 71. And I led a visualization to go down that road and have a conversation with that older, wiser self. Meet your older, wiser self and glean the wisdom of that man or woman who's there, and receive that gift from them. And what I saw in that was that exercise, people didn't want it to end. And people afterwards just said, I wanted to keep going. I could have gone another half hour. I felt the same way when I first received that myself, that visualization as a gift. And I was in tears and wanted a further conversation with my 71-year-old self of the wisdom. Why? Because each of us listening in right now has gifts inside of ourselves that we need to tap into. And the takeaways for me is, number one, it's so good to be live and in person.
Oh, yeah.
Nothing replaces being in the room live.
I heard this quote recently: live events change lives.
Yes.
And that is so true, my friend.
We always knew that, but I don't want to say we took it for granted. It was just further cemented because how many Zooms
got taken away.
We did take it away. I mean, my goodness, I don't want to do another Zoom in a long time. I want to go live. That's why you saw my goals for 2023 of how many times I want to be on stage live, because I love being in the room live with people, to be able to feel that and that vice versa. So the power of being in the room live. I also had that exercise, a top takeaway about money and energy. And I shared the experience of my own mindset with money and how I look at now as money is energy, and how we can't have a scarcity mindset in a time full of, if you watch the news, hopefully not a lot of it, inflation and recession and mortgage rates are high and oil and all this other, all the bad news stuff, is we don't want to play in the scarcity mindset. I played enough of that in the last 2 years, and I'm the king of dreaming big, but that money exercise we had with circulating money is energy. Money is energy, and energy is everything. Energy is everything. So how do we keep in tough times our businesses, Fit Body Bootcamp, growing and going in an abundance mindset? One that energy is circulatory, money is circulatory, so that we can actually do what we love to do, is change lives. So between those two things, and then I think just making sure that people can connect. And I said, I don't want to talk for 4 hours. I want to make sure we have the chance to write, think, dream, do, and be. We had a range of emotions, from lots of laughter and smiles to even tears being shed while people were dreaming big, and a lot of hugs afterwards. So we talk about soul. To me, it's the soul can never be fed enough. Why? Because when you're serving people in your communities and your gyms, it's sometimes a lonely and empty, you can get emptied real fast. And if you don't retool and refuel, you could burn out very fast. And in this industry, you could burn out really quick.
Oh yeah.
Especially when you're giving, and you got to show up as a father or a husband or a spouse to go do what you do. It can get lonely and you can get burnt out. So the fact that we could retool and refuel, man, I know my soul right now is fed just from the connection that was being made.
Heck yeah. Martin, I'm seeing you right.
Yeah, so I took notes because here's the thing. So we all watched it. We were there, so we experienced it. But it's almost, I have 4 that were even reiterated from there. But one of the ones that I think was huge was celebrating your wins.
Yeah.
Where and it's just something you might just say, but it's, man, I think that resonated with a lot of people.
It does for me, man, because I don't do it nearly as much.
Yeah,
that's why I said it.
And when you're in this business, it's always like, what's next? Or this didn't happen, or I got this one little thing, but you forget all the great things that are happening, which led me to the second one. And this is a natural thing we've done for a long time, but I end my day, in particular, when I had a bad injury, I started to say, I need to, at the end of the day, I want to come up with 5 things I'm grateful for. So I try to get 5 or 10 per day. And if I don't have that list, I didn't have a great day. And at first it was just like, hey, my leg bent a little bit better. Or, you were just looking for some kind of progress. But what it started to fuel me was that, like you were saying, you sleep better at night, you wake up, and now you're focused on good things, which now the next day you're going to be trying to do, you're setting yourself to do great things, to be grateful for those. So
correct.
I saw that resonated with some people.
Big time.
Where remember that one guy, there was one guy that got up and he was like, his thing was, I get up before I go to bed, I come up with all the bad stuff.
Yeah.
And then the other one, and I don't know how you exactly phrased it, but it was another one people said was, remember, it was the woman that got up and she said, hey, you can still strive for excellence even when you're having challenges. Yeah. Or I don't know how it was exactly said.
So when you have a high standard, when you have a standard, you got to step up to the standard even when you're not your best.
Yeah, so even if you're not even doing your best, you can still try to be excellent. And I think that was one that really resonated. And then one that nobody mentioned that I think is the biggest thing in terms of team retention or anything else that you had brought up is you got to have conversations, and you never know what people are going through. Like, remember until that lady said, hey, I have this person, they're living, their life isn't great, and they work for me, and I'm trying to help them and get them an air conditioner. Yeah, or something. And it's just, if you're just looking at them as somebody that comes in and works, and you don't know any of the backstory, and you're not connected in any way because you're not listening, well, wait, how are you going to retain them, or how are you going to inspire them? So those were 4
good takeaways.
Yeah, 4 biggies besides that.
And that stemmed from one of my points with leadership in a new era, has to deal with sitting down and meeting people one-on-one, real talk like this, where we can have a conversation that's not necessarily a review, and really asking some open-ended questions. Because when you have those open-ended questions, that's when they actually share a lot of things with you that have nothing to do with business, but have everything to do with business. Oh, yeah. It's how they're showing up and things that they're struggling with. And you talk about gratitude. I've been focusing on this because of the last 2.5, 3 years of you get into a mindset of what you don't have, or what you are lacking, or what you used to have and you don't have anymore. And I wasn't even sleeping at night because I was going to bed irritated and angry and everything else. So I started a nighttime routine of gratitude, and I just created a journal, impact journal, of how you can start the day with the first question of 5 is gratitude. What are you grateful for? And end the day with gratitude, because of what Martin just talked about. Is it's easy to think about what didn't go right today versus what conversations did you have like this, that tonight in my gratitude journal, I'm going to put this conversation this right podcast. Here, this podcast. I'm grateful for you, Bryce and Martin, and the people listening in, because when you go to bed and you can shift your mindset to gratitude, it changes your energy. It changes your posture. It changes the way you show up for your client or your members or your team. Because of gratitude, it's very easy to focus on what you don't have versus what we all do have. We have a lot of blessings.
Amen. What's up, my friend? Bryce here. Now, you might know me as the co-host of this podcast and the CEO of FitBody. But what many people don't know is that I actually began my journey as a FitBody franchise owner. Now, being an owner, I wake up every day absolutely doing what I love. I live my passion. I help people transform their lives and have both financial and personal freedom. It's for these reasons and many more that other owners join the brand and open their own FitBody locations too. So if you're looking to build a highly profitable business, take charge of your life, and create an impact in your very own community, then opening a FitBody gym might be a perfect fit for you. Now, to see if a territory is available in your area, as we have very limited spots due to our incredible growth, go ahead and visit our website at fbbcfranchise.com to complete an application. Well, thanks, and back to the show. Gentlemen, man, this is awesome. I'm grateful for both of you on that note. As we kind of tail in, because we could sit here for hours, but we still got a conference to get to in the back half of the day. But one of the things that you said, TD, at the very end, like we walked us through the exercises, is really about being legendary. So from that lens, and Martin, I'm going to call on you first, from that framework, and certainly we're here about, teaching and educating and client retention and team retention. So it could be focused on, the fitness aspect and the business aspect, but it could also just be in the life aspect. To you, Martin, what does legendary mean? And then after that, I'm gonna kick it over to TD.
Well, and I think that's a great question, because one of the things by TD going through it and taking us through that exercise, the first thing he said, what does it mean? That's the first question, is what does that mean to you? Like what will your legacy be? And these have become, hey, as I'm getting older and we're the same exact age, this, I think, when I'm in my 20s, when I'm in my 30s, when I'm in my 40s, I wasn't as worried about that. It wasn't how will I be remembered or what will I create that lives on, where now that's almost become the most important stuff to me. And and I think that would be, I guess my definition would be, how or what have you either impacted, using that word, or lives on after you? And I'll tell you what, some of the most important conclusions I've come to is it's your family, it's those people that you work with, it's those people that your program impacts that you may never even know about, or the way that it is, right? Like, so here would be a great story, and then I'll hand it off, is I was in Finland, and this guy comes up, at one of the facilities, and he's got a baby with him, and he goes, "Hey, Martin, this is a warrior baby." And I'm like, "Oh man, that's cool, that's cool." And he goes, No, this is a warrior baby, man." And I said, "Oh no, that's neat. I'm not tracking, what do you mean?" And he goes, "Oh, well, I wasn't feeling good about myself. I was like really down in the dumps and depressed a few years ago. COVID is happening. This gym still was able to do outside workouts. I started coming. They gave everybody buddies, warrior buddies. I met this woman. We eventually got married. This is our baby." And he said, "Man, do you realize if you never create this program and you never try to inspire these people, there's never this kid, And that night, I couldn't almost sleep. Like, what's going to happen with this kid? Or is the kid going to be great? Or what will the kid do? But it showed me this thing that legacy is like dropping a rock into the pond, and like those ripples go, and you don't know where they all go. So you better be really careful what kind of rocks you're dropping, And but definitely, it's made me, again, coming back full circle, the refocus is family. Like that'll be the most important stuff to me at the end. Then why aren't I doing the most important things about it now, right? Yeah. And I've started to spend a lot more time there, and there's guilt that goes along with that. Like, oh wait, now I want to see my family. Like, for example, there's a hurricane coming for everybody listening, so TD's getting out of here. I got to make my, there's a hurricane coming tomorrow. I don't know if you know that.
I knew that.
And, so I'm trying to move my flight up, but I'm feeling like, oh, but maybe Bryce and everybody wants to hang, and now if I don't, what do I do? But I'm like, oh, but if I miss it, then I miss the family vacation that I'm, because we're going to Tennessee because they're off this week. And it's this battle of what I think your exercise really did with that 20-year person. Yep. I was thinking a lot about that during it, where that guy 20 years from now is going to say, "Hey, that was really good. You didn't miss that vacation."
That's right.
And that gave me power over being able to say, okay, like I'm not going to feel guilty about it if I leave, earlier or something. So it's kind of,
You never regret a good vacation.
I don't know what answer I had there, but yeah.
I would say this: number one, you never regret a good vacation, and two, what I just heard you say, Martin, is that warrior baby. Just think back, folks, as you're going through decisions for yourself. Martin, if you never started TFW, way back to when I knew you, when you were at bills,
with Bill.
and you have an idea, a dream, you eventually moved. If that never happened and you didn't take a risk and a chance to actually work on your dream, then that warrior baby would have never happened, because it involves risk, right? To step into your best version of who you are. They always say that, I used to hear this all the time, and I didn't take it for granted. Before age 50, you seek legitimacy. After age 50, you seek legacy. My whole thing used to be, I ain't waiting till age 50 to seek legacy. I'm seeking it at 35. And I said that. I remember saying that when I was in my 30s. I remember saying that when I was 40s, and now I'm 50. Like, wait a second. I was always seeking legacy, right? But what's funny is, why wait? Why wait to seek that? To answer your question is, when you say what is legendary mean, the exercise I brought them through is you had to define your own legendary, because maybe legendary is to be a great mom, because there was a gal who was in there who was beating herself up about not being enough. And why is it so many gals that we know, and guys, but especially moms, can beat themselves up in the guilt of not being enough, right? So when you write a love letter or legendary letter to yourself about you are enough, and how you show up as a mom or a dad or a husband or a wife, if you're doing your best and you're trying to change the world, it's important that that young kid understand why you do what you do, why you step on a plane to go speak or present, or why you show up, or why you get up at 5 a.m. to go change lives and come back to make breakfast and then run back out. And sometimes you feel so harried and hustled and hurried, but you're trying to change lives. And the most important thing that we can give a child is a purpose. The most important thing we give a teammate is a purpose, because to me, when we talk about legacy, legacy is impact, and passion plus purpose is impact. That's been my thing, is got to have the passion, you got to have a divine purpose, and when you combine passion and purpose, that gives you impact, and impact is legacy.
Mic drop. Boom. TD.
Brother, thank you, Bryce.
Freaking
Honor
awesome.
to be here,
Martin.
with you two guys here.
So
appreciate
No,
you.
and we've always talked about,
Likewise.
we call it, we're gonna eventually do something. It's gonna be called the
Energy
energy explosion.
explosion.
We just have to make sure the building is reinforced, that when the roof gets smashed off.
There's
but-
never a time. It's now. 2023
Oh,
is
I know.
coming, and it's here, and it's time to go.
That's it. Well, gentlemen, I know we've been hitting on the books for quite some time. I'm just so grateful and fired up to have you guys in the flesh. TD, amazing training today. Martin, can't wait for tomorrow. And as we wrap for today, friends, I know you got a ton of value. I certainly did. We're in motion right now. We're coming back for round 2 later today, and then tomorrow you're up. And for what it's worth, I just want to take a step back and just show you guys gratitude. What you've done in the industry, how you've trailblazed away. It's just been absolutely incredible, exceptional at that. You've impacted so many lives, and I've learned so much from you throughout the years. And I'm blessed to be able to learn from you, to be able to call you friends. And the impact you have is incredible, not only through me, but through our audience and through the whole organization I run. So on that note, I just want to give you guys a lot of love and gratitude.
Thank you, Bryce, and thank you for what you do. Thank you for all the people who are there, present today and tomorrow. Thank you for all the listeners, because Bryce, the vision started with Bedros, and I've known B a long time, and then you and the leadership team, and that if there's ever a time that this world needs more life transformers, it's now.
Amen.
And Fit Body Bootcamp, what you're doing and what this entire organization is doing to put light into our communities, what TFW is doing, what I'm doing, is there's not enough light to go around in a time of darkness right now. We've got to light this place up in 2023. And I just want to say thank you for having us and me. I'm really honored to be here. And for those who are listening in, thank you for what you do, because I know it coming from my heart is this world needs more positivity, optimism, hope, impact, light, love, and the folks who are listening in right now and listen to your podcast, Bryce, that's what they're receiving. So thank you for what you do too.
You got it, brother. Well, team, that's all I got for you today. Tons of value, assuming that you got a ton of value like I know you did. Give us a like, give us a subscribe, share this with someone who needs to hear this message. And gentlemen, I appreciate you guys again. And friends, we'll see you in the next episode.
Peace.